session is going to be, because we're getting all kinds of crazy Wi-Fi dropouts on my end. Not entirely sure what it is. It's really bizarre because my guys are upstairs on both Xboxes and they're into their sessions of Fortnite and Minecraft, and there's no drop, no lag or anything. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But we will dive in and see how far we get, I suppose. So I wanted to talk a little bit about getting past the blockout phase and how much I hate the blockout phase. Because if you remember sort of the last look of this model, right before I signed off yesterday, it was looking really crappy. But the idea for me is to just lay it down really quick, paying attention to the silhouette window and just trying to find, well, I guess yesterday's session was really all about volume and form and proportion as well. Today, actually, whilst I was trying to problem solve the Wi-Fi and get it sorted out, I was also pushing and pulling poses. Yeah, no, I hate that when I go and do something off stream and come back and I don't explain what I've done. So I'll try to walk you through as best I can. I was hoping that I could just push and pull a few pieces, then Wi-Fi would suddenly magically pop up, and then I could kind of pick up and say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. But I've gone a fair way. Now, the only thing I did in the last little while was to just simply focus on pose. Pose, 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 pose. That's all I was working on. So a few different things. Well, there was only a few tools really that I was utilizing, right? One is my masking. So when you hold the masking button, I'd occasionally flip from mask pen, so I can paint certain areas out, to mask lasso, right? So I'd come in here and you can see that part of the mesh is masked. I can draw a mask lasso, right? Well, pretty much just what I did. I would mask lasso a certain part and then invert that mask, or whatever order of operations you need to get to the body part that you need to focus on, right? So when I'm going to control click in the workspace here, it flips that mask for me. The next little tool that I don't think I really talked about is, and why I left this up here, is the transform tool. So you notice when you, when I go into one of the move, translate, scale sort of options, ZBrush comes default with the gizmo that we all all know and love from, you know, Maya, Houdini, and Max. And that's all fine and good, but occasionally I'll need to turn that off and revert back to the transpose tool. So the transpose tool is this weird new pixelogic invention. I don't know if I talked about it before, right? But when I first started learning how to use the transpose tool, boy, was it just confusing. It wasn't just me. ZBrush artists all over the planet were like, bring back the gizmo. Well, give us a gizmo. What is up with this transpose tool line? So hence, that's why they created this. But it does have its uses, right? So one of the things I can do in when I'm in rotate mode is I can draw a line. Now, the way the line anchors itself is by detecting vertices, right? So it anchors to a vertice and anchors to the next vertice. But with this, I can grab one end and rotate the character. So it becomes a really easy and convenient way to sort of pose a character out, right? And so I was going through and just posing the limbs out, finding various different angles. And the other cool thing about the transpose tool, and I'll turn off my masking for this, and I'll draw my transpose tool up here, get it out of the way. The transpose tool allows you to do topographical masking. So to show you how cool this is, I'm going to go into my regular lasso mask, and I'm like, okay, I want to mask out this limb, right? There you go, I got it. Well, no, not really. I missed the bit here, didn't I? And I caught a little bit of the other leg over there. So that's no good, right? So the cool thing about the topological masking, I'm going to go into my rotate tool. I've got my transform tool here, right? I can hold down Control to get into mask mode, and I'm going to draw my transpose tool and check out what happens. It just follows the topology, right? So I'm just grabbing that leg. I'm not grabbing anything else around it, right? So this makes it super handy if I ever want to pose out that leg. To do this, Control click on the mask a couple of times just to feather it, Control click out here to invert it, redraw my rotate line and rotate, right? And it just really, really super handy to kind of pose your character out and get her into position. So this is what I was doing. Now, one of the key things about what I'm kind of working on at this point is a good looking pose from all 360 degrees. So I'm constantly rotating around and looking for little things that might not feel right in the pose. So I'll give you an example. This has been bugging me a little bit because that arm is straight up and down, doesn't feel right, and the leg is straight up and down, doesn't really feel right. So I'm going to come in here with a rotate tool and make just a little tweak here. So I'm going to hold down Control so I can extend this mask out, and then Control left click again, extend it even further. Right, I'm just angling this guy here, and I'm just going to Control click that mask. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys, because we are just working out the pose. I mean, this geometry of this particular character is going to change radically, right? So I'm going to flip that mask, and I'm going to redraw my Transpose tool, hit the rotate button, hit the R key to make sure I'm in rotate. Rotate this out a little bit, right? I'm going to rotate around to see how much it's disturbed my pose. I might bring that knee in just a little bit because I'm going to go back to, or do I need to go back to that? I don't need to go back to the lower leg. I think that working, yeah, you know what? I do want to go back to that lower leg. So I'm going to come in here at this particular angle, and I'm going to Control click and redraw another mask and extend that up, you know, around about the knee area, and then Control click off to get rid of that mask. And then I just want to tweak this back just a little bit. And maybe tweak the leg. Oh, maybe tweak the leg out a little bit. And pull it back. Now, you know, oftentimes, you know, when I was younger, people would say, well, it's impossible to get a model to look really, really good at 360 degrees all the way around. And I sort of, I kind of see what you mean. There's always going to be like a shot or an angle where it's not going to look good. But I discovered something in my travels, right? If I made a concerted effort to make that pose look good from 360 degrees, it just works. It just really, really works, right? So I found a very, very interesting angle on those legs. I'm very sort of cognizant to make sure that the character is not off balance, right? But I'm trying to find that really, really interesting pose of the legs coming together there, right? Now I got to keep this leg straight because it's carrying the majority of the weight in terms of how she's posted. So she's holding her weight here, and then this leg is extended out, mostly for balance, right? And so I'm sort of wary of that. Now I want to come back and fix the one arm here, because the arm pose I'm not entirely comfortable with. I don't know what it is that's not really working for me, but there was an angle that I didn't really like. That looks really cool. I like the way it's bent back that way. But here, where it's straight up and down, it just doesn't feel entirely right to me. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to double click to make sure I've cleared my mask. I'm going to go into my Transpose tool, rotate, Control Shift to do a topological mask. And I'm going to, you got to be careful not to re-grab that tool. But I'm going to draw that mask out. And click here a couple times, click off the canvas to reverse it. Redraw my rotate tool. Rotate this guy out. Now I'm rotating that out because I also want to rotate this arm in. So I've Control clicked on the canvas to invert my mask, and I'm Control extending out that mask. Control left click drawing to just, to draw and extend that out. Yep.